Okay, I think we have started and we'll no doubt start seeing people coming in. Welcome everybody to SoapBox's webinar here with our colleagues from the University of Oregon. We are super excited to have you all here today. And as you're coming in, I see the numbers flowing in really quickly, which is exciting. Please feel free to put your name and where you're coming from in on the chat so we can see who you all are and where you're coming from. Brenda started it off. Well done, Brenda. You're from Dublin, saying hello from Dublin. Amelia, good to see you. Diego, hi Diego. Yeah. Ontario, I saw. Oregon, I saw. Florida, hi Jennifer. Georgia. Lynn from Arizona. We might get all 50 states here today, who knows? Ontario, Shivala, South Dakota, fantastic. Minnesota, we really are. We're doing across the states today here. It's full representation. Texas, yay, we got Texas. Hey, Robert. Okay, New York, fantastic. California, Manchester Township, New Jersey, my home state, Massachusetts, wonderful. All right, we've got a lot of people here, Colorado. Okay, keep coming in, folks. And in the meantime, I think we'll probably get started because it's a really, really packed agenda today and want to give us as much time as possible towards the end for question time. So, oh, Alabama, come in. Okay, great. Keep it going. Say hello in the chat when you land, and we'll keep moving here. So thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, How Voice-Enabled Assessments Foster Oral Reading Fluency in Young Readers. And we are super thrilled to have our colleagues here from the University of Oregon. We have Dr. Gerald Tyndall, and I have a feeling that Dr. Tyndall doesn't need too much of an introduction, but he is the Professor Emeritus and the Director of Behavioral Research and Teaching at the University of Oregon. And we also have Aaron Glasgow, who is the Director of Technology Development at the University of Oregon at BRT as well. We also have Brendan McGurk, my colleague here at SoapBox in Dublin, who is our Head of Education Product. And I am the CMO here at SoapBox, Niamh Bushnell. So delighted to have you all here for this webinar. And we are going to hear a lot about CBMskills, which is the new powered by SoapBox product, the oral reading fluency assessment product that the University of Oregon have just brought out. And I know they're really, really excited to tell us all about it. But before we dive in, this webinar is 60 minutes long. We will leave questions until the end, if that's okay with everybody. I know it's going to be loads and loads of questions. If you can put your questions into the Q&A as opposed to into the chat, we'll be able to manage them a lot better there. And if we don't get to your question today, please email us at hello@soapboxlabs.com. And we can set up a call or we can follow up with you by email, whatever suits. So yeah, the webinar will also be recorded, so we'll be able to send that out to you afterwards. And what else did I want to say? Just really, if you don't know SoapBox, if you don't know our company, well, we are a voice AI company. We are leaders in providing voice AI for pre-K to 12 learning tools, literacy tools, math tools, education tools, and we have lots of clients, but these are one of our favorites, our friends here at the University of Oregon. And we are known for equity and for privacy in our voice technology, and we may talk about these things later today as well. I think with that, I will hand over to Gerald, to Dr. Tyndall, to tell us a little bit more about CBMskills and the background.
Thanks, Niamh and Brenda, for hosting this webinar. We appreciate the collaboration between the two organizations, Behavioral Research and Teaching, BRT, and SoapBox. Now, just a warning, I've prepared a script so I don't go off message. And so this really is a test of my oral speaking fluency. I've organized the next 10 minutes or so into 3 big buckets. First, a description of the CBMskills software platform. Second, some comments about the importance of oral reading fluency and, of course, the work that SoapBox is conducting to make this construct more universally available. Third, the critical nature of active, engaged learning as part of teaching practice with automatic speech recognition powered by SoapBox. CBMskills is a unique diagnostic assessment system fully loaded with a range of skills that teachers can organize into groups and then assign students to these groups. The software platform includes skill modules in both math and reading. 12 math modules are available in each of grades 1 through 5. 10 early reading modules are provided for students in grades K through 3. 3 of them focus on phonemic awareness, and 7 address word identification. Finally, we have 17 reading passages in each of grades 1 through 5 to assess students' oral reading fluency. Today, we're only talking about this last set of modules with oral reading fluency defined as text read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. This is a definition adopted by the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP. Among the CBMskills modules, we consider oral reading fluency to be the coin of the realm. All earlier reading modules in CBMskills, phonemic awareness and word identification, are in the service of fluent reading. In the end, our diagnostic system allows teachers to see what specific skills a student is learning and directly intervene by engaging them in practice so that they can become proficient, fluent. Now, here it gets a little tricky, so I'll take a bit of a diversion. In the science of reading, it's important to separate the interventions from the measures of success. In CBMskills, we've purposely blurred the line between these two. Ideally, teachers can use CBMskills to get students proficient, fluent in their reading, and then measure their success by using a well-validated measure like EasyCBM. So let me move to the second bucket of ideas, the importance of oral reading fluency. Research on fluency began in earnest in the late 1970s at the University of Minnesota with the work of Dr. Stan Dino. One of the first publications was in 1982, summarizing initial findings of its high relationship with other important indicators of reading and its sensitivity in distinguishing differences among students and change over time. Since then, scores of researchers have joined in this validation effort, with the net result being hundreds of publications describing the durability of this simple assessment system. We now know, for example, how important oral reading fluency is in relation to all sorts of other reading measures. How much difference exists among grades? How much growth to expect from fall to winter to spring? How fluency is predictive of state test performance, and how fluency can be used in screening procedures with sensitivity and specificity. Over the course of these 4 decades, we also have seen a consolidation of measurement systems, with the informal selection of passages by teachers being replaced by well-validated fluency assessments from various vendors. For example, EasyCBM is a companion assessment platform to CBMskills and can be accessed through Riverside Insights for the District Edition, or directly through BRT for the Teacher Deluxe Edition. With both systems, teachers can integrate their interventions and outcomes in a complementary fashion. Given this extensive research, we also have developed quite stable normative values. With my colleague, Dr. Jan Hasbrook, an expert in reading assessment and intervention, we've published these values in 1992, and then again in 2005, 2006, and in 2017. Finally, normative fluency values have been documented in the 2018 NAEP administration with 4th graders. Much of this information is presented in our blogs posted on brtapps.com. So now comes the third and best part of this webinar, our incorporation of oral reading fluency in CBMskills with the use of SoapBox's automatic speech recognition, ASR. Using the SoapBox voice engine in CBMskills, we've designed fluency intervention and assessment to be tightly coupled, so teachers can assign students to a series of passages, which they independently read for a timed 1-minute period. The recording is sent to SoapBox, where performance is scored for words read correctly, words read incorrectly, and words correct per minute. This system has 3 game-changing advantages. First, students can be engaged in an important behavior that allows them to move from learning to read to fluently reading to learn. And they're actively engaged in a well-validated intervention that has been endorsed by the National Reading Panel, guided repeated reading. An interesting irony is that even though in our original research, we thought that 1 minute was practically negligible, this really isn't the case in classroom practice. Rather, this 1 minute needs to be multiplied by 25 or 30 students, so indeed, it can be quite disruptive. When one student is individually assessed by the teacher, what are the other 24 students doing? With automatic speech recognition providing independent assessments, this pain point is removed. Now, teachers can more easily actively engage students in guided repeated reading. Second, the outcome, words correct per minute, is no longer just a data point on a graph of progress, which is important, but now it's a voice reflecting the genuine qualities of reading in phrases, halting on words that are tough to decode, and attending to punctuation marks that serve as the passage, highway, road signs. Reading prosody is captured, reflecting the unity of oral reading fluency. Finally, a visual display is immediately provided on miscues, which words are read incorrectly within the passage. All this information is automatically recorded and timestamped. And best of all, this recording can be shared, giving both students and their parents agency in reading. Third, the last critical advantage is that this assessment system can be invoked in many different classrooms using a variety of instructional strategies, which would be difficult without it. We published a blog on brtapps.com describing how the SoapBox engine can be incorporated into classrooms, vastly expanding opportunities for both students and teachers to parlay interventions concurrent with assessments. But remember, it's still important to use another measure, a dependent variable like EasyCBM, to evaluate the effects from these interventions. And in this evaluation, performance needs to be captured on unrehearsed passages to reflect the durability and generalizability of oral reading fluency improvements. So those are the 3 big buckets of ideas in this webinar. A brief description of CBMskills, which provides valuable diagnostic information for teachers to use in developing targeted interventions. The extensive validation research on oral reading fluency over 4 decades, and the ease and practicality of incorporating fluency interventions and assessments into the classroom. Realize I've just been the warm-up act for the next part of this webinar. Now I'd like to turn it over to Aaron Glasgow, the lead programmer at BRT, as well as a dear friend and colleague of mine for the past 25 plus years. He will serve as the maestro in orchestrating a demonstration of CBMskills and the SoapBox engine that we have incorporated into this platform. Thank you, and it's all yours, maestro.
Thank you, Dr. Tyndall, my friend and colleague. I am really excited to get going on this demo. Before I start, just a couple of quick comments. The first is, as the tech director, I get to do the demos, but it does not mean that I created the software. What you're going to see today is not possible without the talents of Dr. Tyndall, our primary coder, James, you know who you are, our operations team, and our relationship with SoapBox. Of particular, we know we're very thankful for SoapBox, not only for the state-of-the-art speech technology, but also for this webinar. We wouldn't be here without them today. My second comment is that we are always committed to having a free and functional version of the CBMskills software available for all teachers and their students. We think that a straightforward sign-up and a free account is the best way for teachers to learn about the software by trying it for themselves. I'm going to demo the voice tech today, and I'll play both a teacher and a student, and any teacher can use the same process to try CBMskills in their classroom or at home. You don't actually even need to use real students. I'm now going to see about a screen share and navigate over to our website, cbmskills.com. Okay, now that we've arrived at CBMskills, and if anybody is not seeing the screen share or the audio's funky, please put it in the QA, or I'm sorry, the chat. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And as I log in here, I do want people to keep in mind this is predominantly designed for K-12, or sorry, K-5, or any students for which skills in basic math and reading would be a good fit. And then also a reminder that, again, it is free to sign up. All right, now that I've logged in, you can see my class. And since today's demo focuses on the speech technology, I skipped a lot of the typical sign-up steps that a new teacher would go through, such as adding students and creating groups. If you want to try CBMskills on your own, there's lots of helpful prompting within the app. We also have online documentation and support available. And for those current CBMskills users, your account probably looks a little bit different than my class. My class is a little bit of a naughty class since it's been created in service of Q&A and support tickets and testing our system. So that is to say, if you see some strange scores or maybe a student that took every single measure all at once, it's probably part of our development process. That said, the interface, the functions, and all the other pieces you see today are live on our production system available right now. Next, I'm going to show the CBMskills groups area. And specifically, I'm going to drill down into my existing reading fluency group. In CBMskills, the groups are available by module or measure type, and the students are assigned to the groups. Hence, to make the reading fluency modules available to a selected group of students, I just add them to this group. However, before I do that, I'd like to talk about the other part of the groups, the modules. In CBMskills, the modules are organized by grade, and each module contains many different measures or activities for the students. The way we envision these modules working is that once the teacher has assigned a module, the students work on the measures within it until they reach the gold award. Of particular note with the reading passages, the awards are assigned based on the grade level Tyndall-Hasbrouck norms, so it's best to assign the modules at the student's grade level or grade level equivalent. And I'll show a cool little feature here where under the manage modules, you can see both the grade level, and if you have any questions, you can also get a little informational pop-up. Final feature I'll show is by clicking on any of the modules, you can get a teacher preview of what the student would see. So I'm now going to navigate back to the students part and add a new student. Let's pick on David Garcia to this group. Now that I've got my student assigned to my reading fluency group, my work as a teacher is done. I'm going to go ahead and log out and log back in as a student. It's time to do some reading. Now, you might have noticed there that I knew how to type the URL in. That's because I'm a good student and I remember the URL from having worked on CBMskills in the past. In CBMskills, the URL is teacher. It's based on the teacher-controlled class name, and there's flexibility for the educators to choose their own. There's also on the homepage a box for the kid to type in their teacher class name, should that be a better fit for your classroom. I'm going to go ahead and select my name, or the name I selected, and type in a brief password. Again, the security is also teacher controlled. And now that I've logged in, I'm going to go ahead and navigate over to the passage, the reading area, and specifically the passage fluency. And this is the part of the demo where I get to relive my 4th grade years. If we've got the webinar set up correctly, then what you're going to see in here is me doing a brief passage reading. I'm going to make a couple mistakes on purpose, and then we'll come back and I'll kind of talk about what I did. This part of the demo is on purpose. Any teachers out there who have done work with microphones in the classroom will see this familiar screen. And the point is that we're trying to put a lot of intelligence on the front end. We don't want students to belabor the reading process. We want to try and get the technology as transparent as possible.
Say yes to begin.
Oh, yes, I'm ready to start reading.
Start reading aloud now.
Today was the first day. Samuel felt nervous because he wasn't in the same class as his friend, Nick. I did a great job. And it looks like we only lost a few people from the webinar. So I'm going to push my luck and do a second reading. So we have a couple different examples to look at. This time around, I'm going to read for just a little bit longer. So feel free to use the next approximate minute or so as you wish. Promise it'll be worth it when we see all the examples.
Say yes to begin.
Yes, I'm ready again.
Start reading aloud now.
I enjoy making my own breakfast. Usually, I make scrambled eggs and toast, but today I wanted to change things up a little bit. I got the blender out and put in some strawberries and a banana. Then I added some milk, yogurt, and ice. I turned the blender on, and oh no, I had forgotten to put the lid on the blender. Now everything was covered in smoothie, including my shirt, the kitchen counters, and the floor. It took me almost 10 minutes to clean up the kitchen and change clothes. By then, my smoothie was warm and melted. Another great job. I think I'm done with my 4th grade visit. I'm now going to log back in as a teacher, and we'll take a look at what happened. Now that we're back in the teacher section, I'm going to navigate to a new area of CBMskills, the score report. This report is available by group, and it shows all the students in their best scores on the module in the group. Let's click on the recent readings for David. I can see that both of my readings are here, the good one and the other one. I'm not surprised to see this reading flagged as teacher check required. And that's because it triggered one of our CBMskills for reliable score, which is the passage needs to be at least 30 seconds. It's important to note that all of the passages are available for teacher review, and teachers can update the score at any time they wish. However, since we know how busy teachers are, the idea of the teacher check required is to focus the teacher attention on scores that would benefit most from the teacher taking a second look. And so in the review here, we can see how it was a short reading. I skipped a few words. Should the teacher elect to make changes to this, you can change over to our manual mode here, flipping back and forth between automated and manual, and make some changes. I'm also going to go ahead and show the other passage. If you remember, I finished that passage just a little early, but I didn't read all the words. Let's see. And we can see here how the lack of the last sentence was automatically detected and incorporated into the scoring. So far, the voice engine looks to be working great with my voice, but I don't think it's just designed for my voice. Is there any comments from SoapBox on kind of the design here?
I think that's great. Thank you so much, Aaron. And I do love the 30-second rule. I think that's so important because so often we see that especially our less confident readers can maybe finish a passage early if they're becoming frustrated, etc. So it's really great that that alert is there for the teacher. And just on the subject, I suppose, of those less confident readers or our striving readers who are really maybe struggling, even though they've been put in at the correct level, their behaviors will differ to that of an adult. They will self-correct, they will pause, they will hesitate, they will insert, they may kind of talk to themselves while they're reading. And that's all of that kind of behavior, just like yourself. I don't make the tech, but I rely on the amazing people I work with. So these are all the behaviors that we understand and that we use when we're modeling how our program works. So the engine knows to anticipate the speed at which children read, the environments they're reading in. So whilst I'm doing my reading, the teacher is working with somebody else in the background. So we know that there will be ambient noise in a classroom. We know that the child may get distracted, they may insert, they may stop early. So these are all of the things that we consider. So what we've seen in these examples are where the engine knows, the SoapBox engine knows that certain words were not said, and it knows where the child stopped reading or where Aaron stopped reading. We also look for substitutions, omissions, self-corrections, all of those great standard things that a teacher will be looking for when they're listening or observing a child, including hesitations and pauses, but also the great things that kids do too, like self-correct. There's a healthy amount of self-correction, and then there's an amount that tells you that kid maybe has a problem. So it's the behavioral stuff that's really important to us when we're designing. You were a little too good. You'd be an easy one for us.
It is, it's really important that the software and technology work for all the kids in all the classrooms out there. I have a couple other examples here that we can listen to briefly for some context.
There's no way I could finish the race. I was tired, my muscles hurt, and I just wanted to give up.
And
It was so unfair. Dad had taken away Olivia's treasure hunt game and made her go outside.
I love that example.
thank you. The last piece I want to show is one more report, and this is our activity report. And the purpose of the activity report is to help teachers quickly identify who students who might need some help getting started or who could benefit from a change in group or module assignment. So you can see the breakdown of the students and the different awards here. I know everyone found time in their day to attend this live event, and I don't want to take up the whole time with this demo. I'll just leave by saying if you get a chance to navigate over to CBMskills and sign up, please give it a try. It's free. And now back to our moderator.
Thank you, Aaron. That was amazing. That was so good. Let me change the view here so we can all be seen. Brenda, did you want to make a couple more comments on what was there? Was there anything else that jumped out at you, the way that CBMskills has been set up? You've seen all of our clients and all of the products that they've developed using our technology.
Well, as we always say, Niamh, our technology powers products like this, and it's only as good as the quality of the product that it sits in. And in this case, we're talking about something that's been built on 40 odd years of research with Dr. Gerard Tyndall in the driving seat. I mean, if we want to talk about quality, reliability, I think, we're definitely in the zone here. And, in terms of those passages being so proven and so tested over the years to really be able to establish the level at which a child is reading, so that you can really feel confident that your students are being measured in such a trustworthy way. I think that's just incredible. And the fact that it's quick and easy to use, it's very intuitive. I mean, the first time I logged in, I had asked for login, and Dr. Tyndall had said, well, anybody can log in. Why are you asking me for a login? So we went in, a few of us, and tried it. It was like, wow, that was really easy, because that can be a barrier. If it takes you a while to log in and set your classroom up, you may not just have the time to do that, even though there's that great expression, I'm walking to work because I don't have time to mend the puncture on my bike. So it's going to be worth it in the long run, but actually getting there can be difficult. But I think in this case, it's so easy to sign up, set up your class, and then be able to monitor progress as you go along. And those at a glance, quick and easy to interpret pieces of information. The first child didn't finish the passage. I need to check and see why, but the second child did, and their WCPM was well within range. So I'm good with that. So you're not worrying about kids you don't need to worry about. I think that's a really common thing with teachers. They want to know how every child is doing, but they especially want to know about the kids who need their help. So it's a great way to be able to get that.
Wonderful.
Brenda and Neve, there's a comment by Nicole in the chat, and the question is, using the Hasbrook and Tyndall norms when assessing student fluency, and has this chart been updated, and is it available, accessible on Easy CBM? I'm meeting Jan next week, and we are plotting to update the norms. The 2017 norms are based on over 2 million kids with 3 major vendors, Ames Web, Dibbles, and Easy CBM. And so I think about every 5 years, it's worth updating norms. I'd also say that we've incorporated these norms into CBMskills by using the values, the percentile rank values for awarding the medals, bronze, silver, and gold. And so we systematically move up the percentile rankings so that all the medals are based on them. Aaron and I and James have plans to add more features and reports as we get the base model out. And so that's a long-term answer. As Aaron has said, this really is teacher-driven, and it's those kind of questions that pique our interest. And so we'd be definitely put that on our update list, including graphing progress. So there's many ways we can enhance what we have. And so it's a good question, Nicole.
That's great. I'm glad that you jumped on that one, Gerald. I was going to pass it to you immediately. So it was one of the first questions that came in. We have a bunch of different questions here. Just so that everybody knows, yes, the recording of this session will be going out to everybody tomorrow. So don't worry about that. If you have to leave early or you came in a little late, you'll get the whole recording and you'll be able to share it with your colleagues. Another question just earlier on about whether SoapBox is involved in creating the content that goes into a tool like CBMskills. And no, the answer is no. We are a voice AI company. We're an enabling technology. In very simplistic terms, think of us as the oil for the engine of the car. We power these tools with expertise in voice AI, but the actual educational content and everything about it is developed by clients like our colleagues here at the University of Oregon. Brenda, there's a lot of questions, and we always get these questions about accents and dialects. How about, do you want to kick us off on that? And then maybe our friends from U of O might want to say a couple of things themselves about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important just to mention that accents and dialects have been foremost from day one, when SoapBox was set up by Trish, Dr. Patricia Scanlon, and then we have Dr. Amelia Kelly who works with us, etc. Trish, when I knew her even before I started working here, would say, I want speech that if I walk into a classroom in the middle of New York City, every kid in that classroom can be understood. And that's kind of been held up as our goal and our vision in the company, that we can ensure that no child is at a disadvantage because they're using our speech technology. So it's core to everything we do. We constantly evaluate ourselves. We run tests every month for internal performance, etc. And we ensure that accents, so regardless of where you're located within, say, for example, North America, your accent is being catered to, but also your dialect, so that you don't have to change the way you speak in order to be understood by our engine. I have a particularly strong Dublin Irish accent, so it doesn't make me wrong, but it means that I speak a little differently to Gerald or Andrew or even Neve, who didn't come from Dublin. Your accent doesn't make you right or wrong, but you should be able to speak with your voice and be understood. So we like to believe, and we test all the time and say that every child should be understood by our engine, and accents and dialects is something we take very, very seriously, and we have been recognized and awarded for that.
Yeah. A related question, Brenda, in the chat is multilingual students. Mm-hmm. And at this point, the mathematics measures do have 13 languages that kids can select to have the math problems aloud. And so there's complete flexibility in language in the mathematics. And we'd have to work with SoapBox to, expand that to other languages in SoapBox and in CBMskills. In Easy CBM, we do have Spanish measures, reading measures in grades K1, 2, and 3. So that's that question. The other question was about Dibble's ORF assessment and nonsense word fluency and word reading fluency. We did not cover those today. We just covered the SoapBox engine with oral reading fluency, but the earlier measures that I described in terms of word identification does include pseudo word reading fluency, and it does include word reading fluency.
Mm-hmm. And from a voice technology perspective, just to say that at SoapBox, we have developed within our engine the ability to work at all levels of that early literacy, phonological awareness, phonemic awareness type activity, from a child saying the beginning sound of a word, segmenting, blending, etc. And we worked very hard. Our team are incredible. Worked really hard with our customers to help to develop, and with educators to develop out use cases that were really robust. So whether a child responds with, dog, dog, or dog, we know by listening and designing a target that goes to the engine which one the child said, or if they said all of it. So if they're responding correctly to that kind of thing. It's quite complex from a speech perspective, but we were absolutely so happy to have that, because those foundational levels are so important and can be so hard to assess when you've got a large group of very young children and you're doing crowd control as well as instruction and assessment.
Yeah, just in case anybody is interested, we did a webinar in June on phonological awareness and phonics and how our platform powers those practice and assessment of those of phonics. So, just email us at hello@soapboxlabs.com and we can send on, so that you can actually get a view of how that works at a recorded webinar. So many questions here. Okay, so feel free to pick some out if you guys want to yourselves. Here's one. To what extent has the system been compared with expert assessors to establish reliability of the system across different accents and different types of errors? Brenda, you kind of answered that with the accent thing. So I'll add, and then maybe Aaron or Gerald, you guys can jump in as well. All of our clients do due diligence on our technology before they use it, before they integrate it into their product, because for loads of obvious reasons, the most obvious one being that education is just too high stakes an environment to have bias, to have lack of accuracy in a tool that's teaching kids to read, or teaching kids English as a second language, or teaching them math. So that is a massive part of the work we do with our clients, is helping them to do that due diligence to make sure that the technology is accurate enough to deliver for children. And we also do, Brenda, you had mentioned, we also do a lot of internal testing at SoapBox, but it's a labor of love that's never finished. You never have. Language is always evolving. Voice AI is always evolving. Will we ever be 100%, 10 out of 10 every single time that our technology is used? Probably not. But that's the mission and the driver and the North Star for us. So that's why we're known for what we do. Gerald or Aaron, do either of you guys want to come in on that? Or we have a lot of other questions to get to as well, but just wanted to see if you have any other comments there.
I'll pass this off to you, Aaron.
Sure. I mean, as a technology director, BRT has been involved with language and voice technology for probably about 10 years now, including research grants. We're always kind of evaluating our system. To me too, it's not, as Neve said, it's not just about where you're at today, it's where you're going in the future. And so we've established a really nice pipeline to SoapBox so that we can continually evaluate the performance and continually improve.
Yeah.
There's a question here about noise. Colin, how does it handle spurious sounds? Our students are known for tapping the table and making sounds other than speech. Built-in microphones are notorious for triggering the slightest sound. We do a lot of work on sound and noise. Brenda, do you want to start us off answering that one, or?
Absolutely. And again, this is an area I rely on my colleagues to direct me in. I bring the problems to them and they solve them. The system is robust to ambient noise because we've built our models using examples, not just of accents, dialects, and behaviors, but also of the environments that children are expected to perform in. So obviously classrooms are busy places, even at home in the kitchen. If it's being used in a homework tool, you know, that's going to be a noisy place. There'll be something going on. Will it work if there's somebody shouting across a classroom, or if the child is tapping loudly and it's a very short sound? It's going to struggle. You know, there are realities around this as well. If a child's been asked to say the sound "b" and they're doing tapping and they're saying "but," that's even a human is going to go, "What? I don't know what that was." So we usually say if the human can hear it, clearly the engine will hear it. That's how we've trained the engine to perform. On longer sounds and passages, yes, it can handle it much better. But we also have the ability then that we're working on to flag if there's been a problem with audio. So if an audio is particularly problematic, which can happen, we have the ability then to flag that and say there was a problem with that audio. Not even the person sitting beside the child could have heard what was going on. So yeah, as a fail-safe, but we are robust to noise, ambient noise.
Can I make one comment about the entire range of measures available in the reading world in CBMskills, and it's likely to expand, but the important feature of CBMskills is a diagnostic assessment system. That means teachers can go into the production of the performance of the student and see which errors are being made. And this is just critical in the SoapBox labs. That oral reading fluency it's live. You can hear it. You can see it on the transcript. And the same is true with the other measures that we didn't go over. It's about how the errors are made. And we have structured the other measures to have 3 responses, and one of which is very incorrect and indicates no skill in that phonemic awareness or word identification skill. The other is partially correct, which might mean a misrule, and the third is correct. So between the different other measures and SoapBox fluency, teachers can have a full range of the skills that kids have, and then where they need to develop more, targeted instruction. I also want to give a shout out to Jan Hasbrook, who's in the audience. She's done amazing work, and it'll be good to meet with her in New York next week.
Wonderful. Quick question here for either you, Gerald or Aaron. Is the recording of the students reading saved so the teacher can listen to it later?
Absolutely. Yeah, those couple of student recordings I played, and along with all of my voice, are all available in my account. So yes.
Wonderful. And we see that, Brenda, a lot with our clients, that teachers, we like to think that teachers are always going to be at the center of an experience, of a fluency reading experience for a child. So they always have access through our system to listen back to that recording. Is that fair to say, Brenda?
Absolutely. The teacher needs to retain agency. The teacher needs to be able to go in and review something, update it if they want to, but certainly to retain that agency within their classroom and with their students. I don't think any tool can, should, or will ever replace a teacher, and especially with younger children, that one-to-one connection is so important. So these are all tools that support teachers to help them to get tasks done that are really valuable and important, but to give them back time for the stuff that they really need to focus on, like intervention with children who are struggling in the classroom, or planning their instruction for the next day and what differentiation they may need to do within the classroom. So it's about giving teachers tools that make their life easier and hopefully better. And the same for the student. In this case, as Gerald said, repeated practiced reading. It's so important, and here's a tool that can support and help children to do that too. So it's got so many wins and advantages, but the teacher still remains at the center.
There's a question from Addie in the chat, and it deals with plans to go to higher grade levels. This year, we have opened it up for teachers to use, so we can collect data on the performances. It's all anonymized data, so we don't know anything about the kids other than their performance. So we want to use this year to eventually develop trajectories that we can then put together for different learning progressions, and then scaling the measures. So that'll go on this year. I think we'll have to get past that and improve the reports, the reporting options. So as you use the system, do give us input and feedback about what kind of reports you would like to see. I mean, getting the students reading itself is just critical, but eventually you have to codify it into some sense of interpretable data flow. The other deals with, the other question from Addie deals with more effective paper and pencil or online. I think the world is going digital. I mean, but we also need to address, differences in font sizes, and which is on our bucket list, and the fact that some kids will need to engage in paper pencil rather than online. So we've always developed a PDF option. We'd put that again on our bucket list so teachers can use a paper pencil version for some kids. Maybe it's for behavioral reasons, maybe it's for skill reasons. So that's an option, but I can tell you, working with the NAEP Validity Studies panel, even they are going entirely digital, and they're the most conservative, well-established measurement system in the country. But everything will go digital at some point.
Absolutely. There's a couple of people asking the same question about languages. So we built the voice engine for English language speakers, with voice data from 193 countries, which is how we have so many different accents and dialects. And, as I said earlier, we keep refining that. But Brenda, do you want to mention a little bit about the Spanish engine that we are currently
developing? I think it'd be very exciting. So a couple of years ago, we undertook a project where we rebuilt our platform to be, I'm not going to say language agnostic, but to be able to handle multiple languages. And we did that for European languages, but also for Mandarin Chinese. So it was a big, big challenge, and we achieved it really well. We've been waiting ever since then to build out into another language, mainly Spanish for North America, which is just so important considering the mix of children in schools and attending to the needs of all of those children in schools in North America. So we're so delighted that we have started that project, and we hope to have an MVP for this time next year. So we're really, really excited about that. We have so many of our customers who desperately want this, and it is becoming a requirement in several states. You're not at the party if you don't have it. And I think, morally that's right. And, logistically, it's tough, but let's get on and do it. So we're very excited about that.
That's great. With funding from the Gates Foundation, I don't know if you
absolutely.
Thanks to the Gates Foundation for funding that work. Aaron, Martha Curie has a question here. I know Brenda would be interested in feeding in on this too. Do you need to have a target passage with specific words and phrases in order to measure against, or can you analyze spontaneous speech and narrative?
So the way CBMskills is built, we design to get the level of accuracy that we desire. We built it around some target passages, and again, there's a pretty good variety of them. There's 17 per grade level across grades 1 through 5. I think that CBMskills is also a system we're continually developing and investing in, and it wouldn't surprise me to see some additional passages, probably more designed around practice and feedback directly to the student, be added to the system in the future.
Yeah, and another comment is we mostly have narrative passages. They were written by teachers, and it might be possible for us to expand the kinds of passages to include more expository passages with different kind of vocabulary. That is important as kids move out of 5th grade and into 6th, 7th grade, which was the question earlier about will we expand on grade levels. It'd be a wonderful thing to do, and expand on the kinds of passages that we currently have.
Yeah, we have had several customers who, when we talk about spontaneous for speech, we're talking more about, not reading to a script. It's so important that a reading passage is set at the right level with the right the right format in order for you to be able to assess if the child is at that level or not. Otherwise, it's pointless. You don't know what you're measuring. But really, really interesting for things like language acquisition, so learning a second language, but also for comprehension. So for things like retell, you know, tell me that story in your own words. Why do you think Jan was sad when she saw the dog? You know, the kind of comprehension questions that a teacher would naturally ask a child to articulate. And we tend to have to do those either by MCQs, by multiple choice questions, or by asking a child to write about it, which there's nothing wrong with either. But sometimes in certain circumstances, we do want to be able to understand how the child has responded, if they're using the right vocabulary, if they're using it in the right way, what the semantics of that are, etc. So we do have a couple of customers that we're working with on that. One of them that has a program in pilot at the moment. In English language learning. So that's a very exciting area for us too, because it expands the ability and the usage of AI driven voice. So it's great.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Brenda. One quick follow-up. We've organized the passages into grade levels, and you'll note it's the grade levels after the decimal. So when Aaron was showing the passages, it was 1.2, while the 2 indicates the second grade level. 1.3, so 3 indicates the third grade level. We tried to mask the grade levels so students, if they're assigned off grade level passages, don't feel like they're being, you know, cast as a lesser than. But the important point is grade level is a bit of a fiction, and we all know that teachers basically have to multiple grade levels in any given classroom. Some are very advanced kids, some kids are just learning to read. And so I would encourage you to experiment with the kinds of passages that are important for individual kids. And so it may be that you might have, we have 17 in each grade level, but frankly, a 2 grade level group of passages would make 34, which would be weekly administration. So it'd be important to also use guided repeated reading in a careful way so kids aren't repeating mistakes. I mean, the worst thing you want them to do is instantiate wrong reading. So it's really important to follow the transcript of the recording that SoapBox gives you, and that will allow you to really zero in on the kinds of passages important for that kid.
Super. I see a question here from Jerry Silbert. Do the kids receive any feedback when they respond incorrectly, Aaron? That's probably a good one for you.
Yeah, I hinted at it in my last response. Currently, no. Again, we're looking at it more of kind of an assessment, providing that information to the teacher. I think we're probably looking at more of a practice or a mastery model coming out in the future that would be more student focused, and that would be addition of student feedback, some new passages.
Super. There's a couple more questions. There's a couple more questions here just in relation to CBMskills, so let's get there. Will this product be available to parents and private practitioners as well as students in school?
I'm happy to take that one, and maybe if I could, the one above it about the free nature of the product. So we'll go two comments with one comment. So yes, absolutely, it's publicly available. Parents, private practitioners, we welcome them to sign up and give it a try. In terms of the free nature of the product, CBMskills is our newest product. It's in development. We are committed to always having a free tier. However, in the future, I wouldn't be surprised to see additional features available, and those we'll probably have to charge for. Including, it's likely, I think I might have seen someone from our commercial partner, Riverside Insights, on this webinar today. It's very possible we'll see a version targeted at whole district adoption, and they may be the vendor of that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was going to leave that. How can it be free question to the end? I thought that was a fantastic one to to finish us up on. I think we've pretty much covered a lot of the stuff that's here. Aaron, you see that question from Jeffrey Gilchrist. Does it show the errors so that you can get a glance at the miscue analysis? I think you've touched on that, but do you want to say anything else there?
I didn't quite hear that.
No, the Jeffrey Gilchrist. Does it show the errors so that you can get a glance of the miscue analysis? That's the question, at least.
Yeah, the transcript definitely includes the errors. One of my fantasies will be that we can scrape the errors and load them into basically a summary report for teachers to see the consistency or inconsistency of errors across different passages. Again, we have a bucket list of things to do. And so this is a base model for us to get out and move to scaling, move to reporting, move to different options, that teachers aren't just engaged in data collection, but they're involved in high-level data use and configuration of targeted instruction without all the mechanics of collecting the data. So that would be ideal if within the year we start to organize the sort of mistakes that that kids are making. One comment is all of our software with Easy CBM, right now, CBMskills, is all discipline databases that can be mined for different kinds of reports. And that's very different than a one-on-one that goes into a kid's portfolio as a passage that has been scored. This is very different. So it allows us that kind of flexibility to look at error patterns. And that's really the focus of learning progressions. Are there certain progressions that kids go through universally, or are there some that some kids go through and others don't? So that's the target of our research as we develop the system.
Wonderful. Brenda, did you want to jump in there with anything on the data side? No,
just, I mean, you know, data is king. The more we can understand and scientifically verify, the better we can get at improving and having recommendations. And that's why the work that's been going on for over 40 years is so important. I mean, I regularly, when I'm looking things up, you know, it'll be Jan Hasbrook and Jerry Tyndall and other people who come up, you know, and you're like, you know that you can rely on this information because it's validated and it's good science. And the only way we can do that is through having solid databases. And it's the same for a school or a teacher. If you want to be able to spot patterns or know if intervention is working, you have to have the information behind that. You know, teachers intuitively know their children, they know their classroom, they're incredible. But I just think, you know, and no one wants to turn a teacher into a data miner. That's not what they want to be. But being able to provide that at levels where it's helpful within a school setting can be really useful too.
100%. I remember, I think the first conversation I ever had with you, Gerald, was you talking about actionable data for teachers and giving them just the data that they need to empower them to do their work. It was music to my ears. Lynn has the final question, perhaps, because I think we're running out of time here. And Aaron, I think you've answered this already, but maybe it's just worth repeating. So the teacher can also listen to the recording to hear the errors in addition to seeing the transcript, correct?
That's correct. Yes, the full recording is available.
Yeah, wonderful. Gerald, do you want to give us the last word here, maybe, as we close on this great session today?
Sure. I think Aaron intimated this quite explicitly. It's important for teachers to use this system and inform us how to bend it the right way so that it becomes appropriate for your use. This is a base model. We just barely got done in time for this webinar, and we will continue. We already have a bucket list of just make it work, but we really want to know how it's getting used, what kind of reports, what kind of features, and so that's important, is to use the system and inform us on how to make it right.
Wonderful. Aaron, you're good?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Brenda, any last final words?
No, just to thank you guys again. It's just amazing, and it's such a privilege to be working with people who are so passionate and dedicated to this work. It's super. Thank you.
Wonderful. On that note, thank you so much to everybody. I think we had about 160 people here today. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And as I say, hello@soapboxlabs.com. If you need anything from us, you want to talk to us about your use case, you want some more information on data that we surface with our voice engine, anything at all, we're here. Thank you so much to our colleagues at the University of Oregon. This has been real fun and so wonderful to work with you guys, as Brenda said. Thank you both, Gerald and Aaron. Take care.
Thank you for hosting us.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now.